Hello, welcome to the Kingdom Fit Moms podcast. Now, I know if you're listening to this right now, you're probably doing nothing, right? Just chilling by the pool, no responsibility in the world, no crying children bugging you, nothing to do, no job, nothing, right? Oh my gosh, that's funny. Although that sounds dreamy. If you're listening to this, I would argue that no, that's not the actual dream we want because we are kingdom shakers and movers, and many of us have little humans to disciple and people to influence, and we're called to be right where we are with all the responsibilities, right? Connected to our Heavenly Father and grateful for interruptions and running around at times and all of the life that happens. So now that we've gotten excited and pumped about the reality of our busy, hectic, interrupted, and yet beautiful lives, we're probably not just chilling by the pool all the time with no responsibility. If you are, then that's amazing, but that's definitely not my life. So in the midst of the busy, how do we eat well? I 100% promise you it does not have to be difficult. Today's episode is all about breaking off any preconceived ideas of what you're supposed to do, with air quotes, to be healthy, and instead simplify your meals so you can eat well and live well and be you really, really well. Hey, welcome to the Kingdom Fit Moms podcast, where we believe that you can go on a journey to lose weight for the last time. I know you've tried all the things and you may not believe me yet, but when you do weight loss the Kingdom Fit Moms way, everything changes. You're in the right place if weight is constantly on your mind, you're confused about food, you're missing out on memories, and maybe even putting your dreams off for another day because this weight struggle is no joke. We're a community and we're on a mission to invite God into this weight loss journey so you can shed the burden and shine your light. I want you to start living and believing in the version of yourself that heaven sees. Let's get started. Sometimes I just like to talk about things that are really, really practical. And if you are on the go, I'm wondering, do you struggle with how in the world do you fit meals in and meal prep and actually cooking the meals and all the things needed to make your family healthy? Do you struggle with this? If you do, you are not alone. Now, I will say that I have moms that I work with who are in all different situations as far as who is on board with their family decision to get well. In an ideal world, your whole family is aligned with your desire to be healthy, but we know we don't live in an ideal world, right? If your kids are little, it is easier to control what goes on the table for meals. If they're teenagers, it's often more of a collaboration that we have to help you to establish with your family. But ultimately, you're probably paying for the food in your house, you and your spouse, but you also don't want to just surprise your kids and totally change everything in their world all at once. So all that to say is there's a balance in figuring out what works for you and your family. Anyway, I say all of that because when you're deciding on meals for yourself, when you're on the go, you need to know if you're planning just for you or for you and your family. This is something that you really have to keep in mind and take into consideration. Maybe, let's just say your family is on board and you're just aiming for more consistency with healthy meals in your home. I'm going to share what we do in our family and give you some ideas today for how to have lots of healthy, real food even when you're running around to what seems like 100 different things every week. Hopefully, your schedule, if you're listening to this live when it's released, hopefully your schedule is a little bit calmer for summer, but I know that's not always the case. So I want to encourage you no matter where you're at in whatever your life situation is. First of all, none of this will work if you do not have a plan. And you can't have a solid, realistic meal plan if you don't have a schedule for what's going on in the week. This is a big part of what we teach in Fit Moms Academy. I cannot emphasize this enough. Your schedule is one of your best weight loss tools. If you are not using it, you are destined to fail. I'm sorry, but you have to figure out a scheduling system to make sure you're fitting in the things that are necessary to lose weight, and meal planning is a big part of that. You need to know exactly what your week structure is going to be like. In a perfect world, again, if everything goes as planned, what will your week look like? When will you be running around? When will you be home? What evenings do you need to prepare for ahead of time? Now, I am totally realistic that I know things will not go 100% according to plan. It never does in my house. But if you don't have a plan, at least a place to get started. If you don't have the food in your fridge to make the things that you're planning to make, then you're really going to fail. You're going to find yourself in the drive-thru or making frozen stuff that you don't want to be eating or whatever that looks like. This is a big time place where women get stuck in excuses. And sometimes it just takes a couple of tweaks to figure out what we need to do differently so you can actually show up and implement your meal plan. So you have this plan, right? You know what nights you'll be home and what nights you won't be home. We want to help you prepare ahead of time for those nights, especially when you won't be home. What can we do to set you up for success so that you can carry out that ultimate goal of getting your health in alignment and possibly even that piece carrying over to your kids or your husband or whoever else you're trying to influence and create a legacy for? So let's talk through some different ideas, and you can start writing these down and planning what nights am I going to incorporate these meals that are quick cook? What are some of the meals that I can make ahead of time? Knowing I will be gone or knowing I'll be home, knowing I'll have 20 minutes right when I walk in the door. Everyone's hangry. I need to make something quick. So sit down this week and think about the upcoming week and where these different types of meals fit in. And then connect with me on Instagram. I really want to know your ideas too. What meals are you loving in a pinch, and what are you feeding your family when it seems like you do not have enough time to cook? Also, side note, if you hear something that sounds like gunshots in the background, it's not gunshots, it's fireworks. My neighbor is, we actually live out in the country. And when I say neighbor, it's probably a few miles away, but somebody's setting off fireworks. I digress, but in case you're wondering what that noise is, I really want to get this podcast recorded for you guys, and so just ignore that. Okay, let's jump into 7 of my favorite tips for busy nights, planning ahead, simplifying what you're going to cook for dinner. A big piece of this podcast, I want to encourage you to let go of expectations of what you think dinner has to be. Dinner does not have to be a 5-course meal. Dinner does not have to be a hot, fresh cooked piece of meat with vegetables that taste delicious and a, sweet potato that you spent an hour baking in the oven. I promise you it can be really, really simple. And when you start to think this way and just seek out, like, where's the real food, then it makes life so much easier. And you're also setting this example for your kids. Like, maybe you have kids that are going to go off to college. You're teaching them, if they have a little kitchen, that they can make real food simply. They don't have to rely on other people. Even little kids, as they become savvy in the kitchen, they can learn to make these things for themselves. So you can take off. I talk to a lot of different women who have these expectations. Maybe it's what they read on magazines, what they see on Pinterest. Maybe it's what their mom did or what their mother-in-law does. They make really elaborate meals. I don't know where some of these thought patterns come from necessarily, but it's okay to release them. And so I'm giving you permission today to eat really simply. The first food or meal that you can make, obviously, as long as you don't have an allergy to this, the thing you should always have in your fridge for a quick meal is eggs. Eggs are your new BFF. Here are some of the ways that we will make eggs into a meal in a pinch. So, omelets with veggies are one of our favorite ways to eat eggs. My husband is really the omelet master. He will make a spinach and feta and tomato omelet a lot for me, and it's delicious. Or sometimes we'll do whatever vegetables we have that we can put on the skillet. So peppers and onions with some garlic, we'll saute them and put them inside the omelet with some cheese or without cheese, whatever you decide. You could literally take whatever is growing in your garden. We have a friend who loves to saute radishes and put them with her eggs. So you could make a radish and cheese omelet, whatever you want. And you could get creative with it. If you like mushrooms, you could put those in your omelet. Obviously, any meat you have. You could even take leftover taco fixings and put them in an omelet the next night to reuse them in a different way and get some extra protein. You can also, if you have some bacon in your fridge, this is an amazing trick for less mess. You can just put it on a baking sheet with some parchment paper and just put it in the oven. You'll have to look up the time and what temperature. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's an easier way to cook bacon than doing it on a skillet and making a mess. Other ways that you can eat eggs easily, you can hard boil them ahead of time. You can actually hard boil them in your Instapot if you want it to be even simpler. Heck, you could even make them in the microwave if you're really in a pinch. Although I think it's probably just as easier to make eggs on the stovetop. We often will pair our eggs with pancakes. I like to have bananas, milk, and oats on hand to make pancakes. What I do is I put the oatmeal in my food processor and blend it up real small, and then I add a banana and some milk until it gets to the right consistency, and then I just put it on a griddle and just make the pancakes. Salsa is always good to have on hand and really pairs well with eggs. You could literally just scramble some eggs, add some salsa on top. You could pair this with whatever frozen vegetables you have in your freezer. Sometimes I will get that bag of like peas, corn, green beans, and carrots, and I'll heat it up, throw it in with some scrambled eggs and salsa, and it's actually delicious. It can be so simple, you guys. It literally, anything I just said, literally would take 15 minutes or less, minus the bacon. That might take a little bit more. And the time it takes you to go and get food through a drive-through, it would take you more time, right? So if you have a simple solution like this, it will save you money, it will save you time, and you'll feel 100 times better afterward. So keep the eggs in your fridge. Even if you have to eat them a few days in a row, who cares, right? You're not going to die. If it's a simple meal and you're having eggs a couple times a day, even, again, you don't want that forever, but if it's just for a few days, then go for it. Okay, the next easy meal solution that will take all the pressure off of even turning on your oven or stove is some sort of charcuterie board or some variation of this. Sometimes we do charcuterie style meals even without any meat. I think technically charcuterie means a board with different types of deli meat. So I don't know what you would call this if you didn't have that, but I'm just going to call it a charcuterie board. You get the point. So we have a big, nice tray. It could literally be a cutting board though. It does not need to be fancy. And we will cut things up like vegetables, peppers, carrots, cucumbers, whatever we have on hand. We will often pair them with a few dips like hummus. You can do plain yogurt with different Epicure seasonings. Some of my favorites from Epicure are their ranch seasoning, the CCB, the cheesy fries. You pour that, just put it in with the plain Greek yogurt, and it tastes delicious, and it's a really good, healthy option for you. Whatever you want as far as dips go. It actually makes it fun for our kids too, because they like to try to pair different type of vegetables or a different type of cheese or cracker or whatever and dip it in something, and it makes it more exciting for them. So this is always a win-win for everyone. So we'll also add on our charcuterie board different types of cheeses or meats, crackers, fruit, nuts. Everyone really just helps themselves. So if you have younger kids, again, it makes them feel like they're in control, and it's so easy. We just pair it all on a big plate. We put it in the middle of the table and say, have at it, here's dinner. The next easy meal that you could make is a sandwich bar. Get some good quality bread. If you're cutting down on bread, then you can make a lettuce wrap. Get some good deli turkey or chicken, cheese, a bunch of different vegetables you can pair and make really delicious sandwiches. Recently, my husband and I, we were up in Jasper, Canada, and after this experience, I think I can never have a sandwich that was as good as the one that I had there. And essentially what they did was they had a deli, a sandwich bar, just like I'm describing. So they had this really good bread or a wrap that you could choose from. And then they had different types of meat, turkey, salami, chicken, etc. By the way, a side note within the story, if you like deli chicken, I highly recommend getting the rotisserie deli chicken. It is so good. I will sometimes just eat it out of the bag. It's delicious. So anyway, back to the sandwich shop. You go down the line like any sandwich shop, you pick your meat, and then the vegetable selection that they had was amazing though. Everything was fresh. They had pickled beets. They had also other types of, they even had pickled onions, fresh lettuce. It didn't look like it had been sitting there for days. Cucumbers, carrots. They had spiralized carrots, so they just tasted better. I don't know. I think they did. But my point is, when you're preparing food for the week, cut up some extra vegetables and just have them in glass containers. And then if you have sandwich bar night or sandwich bar lunch, then you could have a lot of really amazing vegetables on your sandwich, and you're happy as a parent because at least your kids and your husband are getting more exposure to more real food, and it's already ready for you. So it's a beautiful process, and it was such a colorful sandwich that we had. Again, after that, I went to some more local sandwiches. The other night, we went to Potbelly, and I was like, oh my gosh, I used to love this place. And the quality of everything that was on my sandwich was like very low in comparison. So this is another great option for your whole family. Everybody will love it. Oh, the other thing about the sandwich shop in Jasper is they had a whole menu of different kind of sauces. So they had some that were mayo based, some that were mustard based, and then some that were just random. So you could have like an oil base or whatever. So pick some that you feel really good about for your family. And again, choose your battles. Even if your sauce isn't 100% real food, if you're getting a whole bunch of real food on that sandwich, and maybe again cutting back on the bread, you could even slice the bread. If it's a thick bread, slice it so that it's thinner, or just have half of it so that you're getting a little less carb if you're watching that. Or if you're an overachiever, you can even make your own bread. Whatever your adventure is, this is something that the whole family will love. The next really easy meal, you're probably already doing this. It's similar to the sandwich bar, except it's a taco bar. And basically, you're doing the same thing. You're browning the meat. I love my Epicure taco seasoning because there's no added preservatives or junk in it. And then we chop up whatever vegetables we have. You can even get some chips and let your family do their own, make your own nacho plates. And so the way that I've seen this done is you get a few pie plates out, have everybody who wants to make that base layer of chips do so, and then sprinkle on the meat, the beans, the cheese, all the vegetables, olives, whatever else you like on your nachos, and then just stick it in the oven, and everybody gets their own personalized nacho plate. But if you are trying to watch what you're eating a little more so when it comes to weight loss, you can just do the same thing over a bed of lettuce. And this is why this type of meal, a taco bar, a sandwich bar, it's all customizable so that you can meet your weight loss goals and your family is happy. They're not feeling like they're suffering and missing out on the chips or the bread or whatever. You're not you don't need to enforce your own strategies to help you to lose weight on your kids necessarily. Of course, you want them to be eating a whole bunch of real food and getting excited about cooking and all of those things, but there's balance in all things. So don't feel like you need to totally change everything that you're doing. Also, with the taco bar, salsa has basically no calories. You can add that in for a sauce, or the Ortega taco sauce is always a favorite in my house. And we swap out sour cream for plain Greek yogurt, so it's more protein packed. It basically tastes the same to me. Okay. The next thing I wanted to suggest when it comes to having quick meals on hand is to make sure that you are using your tools. And the first tool that I wanted to point out is the crock pot. You can make so many things ahead of time. And so if you know that you're going to be gone all day, let's say you're working and then your kid has a game and you want to come home and have a meal ready, a crock pot is your friend, because it can safely sit there and just slowly cook, and you'll walk in and your house will smell amazing and you'll be so excited to eat the thing that you made. One really easy thing you can do is chicken. You put the chicken in the crock pot on low all day, so 8 hours or so. Add the broth. I like to use chicken broth and some French onion seasoning. Again, I tend to go for the Epicure type of seasonings without all the added junk, but you could also get like the Lipton French onion seasoning, and you just put it in there with the broth, and that's literally it. And when you come home, you'll have a delicious chicken that you can add to rice or add with some chickpeas or put it on a salad or whatever you want. Another thing that we have done is to put chicken in the crock pot with a diet root beer, and then we'll get a sugar-free barbecue sauce. And then when you get home, the chicken is cooked in this root beer. You just shred it and add the barbecue sauce. And then again, you could put it on sandwiches, or if you're trying to add more veggies in, just put over a bed of lettuce with whatever other veggies you have, and it is done. Now, I know that all these meals are not perfect, but they're so much better for you than carry out. And with whatever you're making, even if you're making some sort of meat in the crock pot, you could do a roast, you could do some other cut of beef with some jardiniere, and then you come home and you can just pair it with some frozen veggies that you literally stick in the microwave, and voila, you are done. You have a meal. So as you can see, it just takes some planning ahead of time to make sure you put it in the tool that you need. Or maybe you need to take a little bit of your morning routine to prep for 20 minutes. And then when you come home, all you have to do is clean the thing and use paper plates or whatever to make your life easier. And dinner is very, very simple. Another one of my favorite meals, I eat this a lot. If you're in the Fit Moms community, you know I talk about this all the time. But for those of you who don't know me well, I'm going to tell you again. I love chickpeas, and I love to pair them with quinoa. It makes a complete protein. And recently, I have to tell you about what I did. Okay, first of all, just get canned chickpeas. You don't need to do anything fancy there. And then for the quinoa, I like to buy those little, if you shop at Aldi, you can buy these little 90-second grain bags. I just take them out. I don't like cooking those in the microwave, but I just put it in a bowl and then heat up the grains. Or you could cook quinoa on the stovetop, but I just find those are really easy. You drain the chickpeas, rinse them, and there's your meal, right? But to make it extra delicious, I recently bought some marinara sauce from Aldi, and if you get their organic brand, they don't add any sugar to it either, which is great because that's kind of hard to find. Simple Mills, I think that's the brand. So I added the marinara sauce, and then Epicure has this seasoning called cheesy fries. I will link this in the show notes because you're probably like, oh my gosh, sounds amazing. And so I just sprinkled some of that on, and it tasted like pizza, but it had no crust, and it just had like a cheese flavor and no actual cheese to it. It was so good. So again, this could be something that maybe your family needs eased into something like this, or maybe they will be totally on board, but it really tasted delicious. Also, if you like these ideas, make sure you hop into my free Facebook group, Kingdom Fit Moms. And I sometimes share these random things that I'm cooking. So go hop in there. Tell us what you're cooking too. We want to know. My last tip for easy meals, whether you're listening to this in the summer, winter, whenever, learn to fall in love with your Instapot, your air fryer, your crock pot. I'll have to save each of these topics. We could go on a whole podcast about each of these topics, but start studying how to use them well, because these tools are made for busy moms like you, I swear. It will make your life easier. Instapot, crock pot, air fryer, you name it. I want to know how you're using them, and I will share my tips and tricks. But don't feel like the only tool that you have is your oven that takes forever to cook things. There are so many things that make life a lot easier, and even if it takes an investment into one of those, sometimes you can get them where they even have a combination of a crock pot and an Instapot. But don't be afraid to invest a little bit and get a tool that you really love that's going to save you time and energy. Okay, I hope these hints and tricks and tips were helpful. I hope you feel a sense of relief that you don't have to make fancy meals. Take my advice. Even if you took all these tips and you made one of these different things each night of the week, and then you had leftovers for lunch and then simple breakfast, you could just repeat this, rinse and repeat for a month this summer, and I bet your family would be pretty happy. Maybe you swap out just a couple of these meals to something that you feel like is a little bit fancier or mixes things up a little bit. But for the most part, your family probably likes a lot of these things. And I would also encourage you to get their suggestions and sit down, write out a plan for the week. And I can't wait to hear how you rock your meals. Every week, we take just a few minutes to teach you something to help restore the glory of God in real food. The more you know, the more you will fall in love with God's design for food. I want to help restore what the enemy has twisted and transform your mind to become obsessed in the very best way with food as medicine and the thing that will give you your health and your life back. Okay, you guys know I like to talk about food that I have recently eaten, or I have to tell you about what I learned about this food this week with my kids. Food is so amazing. Let's talk about pineapple. So I was reading this book with my kids this week, and it was all these different science facts, and it was talking about pineapple. And did you know that you can actually grow pineapple from the stem? Okay, you're gonna have to YouTube this because you may not believe me. You're probably thinking, oh, I thought pineapple grew from a tree. Well, what you can do, I learned with my kids, is you can twist off the stem and then get a jar of water, put the base of the stem in the water, and then every few days replace the water so it doesn't get gross, and you'll start to see all these little roots forming. Once it has a pretty good base of roots, look up pictures to see how much it should grow before you transfer it into a pot of dirt. And this is a process I'm not 100% sure on, so make sure that you look it up, because the videos that we were watching, it was kind of detailed for how to actually get these things to grow. And obviously, if you're in Illinois like me, you're going to need a warm lit room or a green room, because did you know that if you grow a pineapple this way, the time for it to become a fruit that you can eat, it takes over 390 days to fully grow. So this little pineapple that starts from the stem will take over a year to come to fruition. That's a lot of patience. I kind of want to try it. My husband jokes that I have a brown thumb, and so I kind of want to prove him wrong. I'll let you know if I go for it. Anyway, pineapple has a substance called bromelain. You can buy these in capsules, like most ingredients that are amazing from a plant. But bromelain is a powerful anti-inflammatory. Seems like this is the common theme with most things I talk about that are real food. A few highlights with this substance in pineapple. It's great for chronic arthritis. Some studies show benefit for chronic low back pain when you have a lot of bromelain in your diet or in capsule form. Again, you can take it in supplements, or you can try to incorporate more pineapple in your day-to-day life. Bromelain is also helpful in several studies. It was found helpful to aid in the recovery after surgery. Again, most of the time, why do we have pain after surgery? It's because of that acute inflammatory process that's going on. Several studies have shown that bromelain may reduce inflammation, swelling, bruising, and pain that often occurs after surgery, even dental surgery and skin procedures, and in the process lowers those markers of inflammation. Real food is amazing. Go get yourself some pineapple. Also, one recipe that we plan to make this week is to take the pineapple and to core it and cut it into circles and make pineapple pizza. So what that looks like is you take the pineapple, you put whatever fruit you have, so probably strawberries, blueberries, raspberries would be best. Put it on top of the pineapple and make a pina colada sauce. Yes, I know, sounds lovely. So there is this Epicure seasoning that you can mix with plain Greek yogurt. That's pina colada flavored, and then you just mix it and then drizzle it on top so that it has a nice little icing, so to speak. Also, I've been talking a lot about Epicure tonight, I'm realizing, but it's because I just placed an order and got everything in the mail, and I'm really excited to cook it all. And if you're wondering what the heck is Epicure, I'll put it in the show notes. Basically, it's a company that sells different spice mixes. It helps a ton with meal planning, and the ingredients are clean ingredients. You're not filling your food with a bunch of preservatives and stuff that you can't pronounce. So I highly recommend it. If you're looking for different ways to spice up your meal life, then go check out Epicure. Also, if you're not in the Kingdom Fit Moms Facebook group, go check it out. Request to join. We have a lot of fun in there where we share ideas. You'll be in the know when anything new comes out in the Kingdom Fit Moms community, and you'll have a whole bunch of new BFFs. That's all today. Have a wonderful, healthy rest of your week. Hey Fit Mom, if this episode blessed you today and you can think of somebody else who's struggling in her weight loss journey, would you consider sharing this week's episode with her to give her a sense of hope? And then while you're at it, hop on over to our free Facebook community, Kingdom Fit Moms, for daily encouragement and support. Let's go shed the weight to shine the light.